By the mid-1960s, in spite of encroaching dieselisation, steam could still be seen on a variety of duties in New South Wales. The Southern Highlands Express was a favourite with railway photographers, as was the Central West Express and Brisbane Express. Still hard at work by this time were an impressive range of steam classes. Introduced in 1877, the classic Z19 060 was a remarkable survivor, several remaining on shunting duties virtually to the end of New South Wales steam. Locomotive 1919 is preserved at the Glenray Mountain Railway. Introduced in 1892, the C32 Class 460, originally designated the P Class, became one of the most reliable and popular classes. Designed as an express passenger engine, the type could be seen on everything from expresses to local pickup goods trains. Locomotive 3246 holds the distinction of hauling the last regular steam passenger service in Australia. This service between Newcastle and Singleton eventually fell to diesel traction in 1971. (3308) hauls the Up Cobar Mixed across the Bogan River Bridge, December 1966. (3262) in charge of the Gulgong Mudgee Special Trip Working, December 1966. 3324 hauls the Burrawa Mixed, January 1967. (3290) takes empty grain hoppers out of Dubbo, west as far as Wyanga. At Wyanga, wheat is loaded from the silos for collection and transport to Dubbo later the same day. Lachlan Valley Railway Base 3237 is one of two class members restored to working condition. The loco is seen working near Cowra in March 2007. Powerhouse Museum's 3265 is also employed on special workings. She's seen here teamed up with 3526 and 3642, in charge of a special to Lithgow in November 2009. In 1896, the first of the standard goods 280 type was introduced. Originally known as the T, TF and K class, they were later designated D50 and D55 classes. Designed specifically for heavy freight duties, these rugged and reliable workhorses could be found hauling a variety of goods workings throughout New South Wales. They could also be seen working passenger trains. '54-51 at Homewood with the mixed from Blaney, June 1966. '53-11 is seen on a down goods near Wattamundara, June 1966. As part of an extensive tour of the northwest, 5407 is seen between Gunnedah and Werris Creek in July 1967. '53-67, the only standard goods engine preserved in working condition, is seen working on the Lachlan Valley Railway, Cowra, in March 1997. The C-30 class 464 tank engines entered service in 1903 to fill an urgent need for reliable motive power to work Sydney's increasing passenger services. A C-30 class working beyond the suburban system was the Wollongong-Mossvale service. '3076 is about to depart for Wollongong in the back platform at Moss Vale, November 1966. And leaving Moss Vale. '3023 makes an impressive departure from Fassifern with a local passenger train during the same period. privately owned 3112 is the only C30 class tank engine to be preserved in operational condition. She's seen working trips between Newcastle and Maitland during the Maitland Steamfest in April 2007. Newcastle Station has undergone electrification since the 1960s and is a much quieter place. Engine 3112 is a regular performer at the Rail Heritage Centre, Thirlmere. He had teamed with 2705 in March 2004. With the electrification of the Sydney suburban system from 1928, many displaced C30 tank engines were converted to 460 tender engines for country branch line service, becoming known as the 30T class. An unidentified 30T on a goods working near Cowra, October 1966. .3063 leaves Cowra with the Grenfell Mixed in June 1966. .3016 near the Edgell factory with the Eugowra branch goods in December 1966. Several 30Ts are preserved. 3016 is seen working on the Micalago Tourist Railway in May 1994. March 2004 saw 3016 team up with 3112 on a special Sydney Mossvale working. This pairing created an ideal opportunity to compare the tank and tender versions. Introduced in 1914 to replace underpowered C-32s on heavy express workings, the very British-looking C-35 460s, originally designated NN class, became a handsome addition to motor power operations. .3520 and .3528 hauled the Up Brisbane Express down Fassifern Bank in September 1968. .3532 hauls a pickup goods near Warnervale in November 1966. The load includes former Junee depot shunter 1036 making her final journey. Still at Warnervale and .3523 with a down passenger working, also in November 1966. .3517 with an up passenger train near Medford, December 1966. .3531 on a down passenger train near Coffs Harbour in December 1968. June 1965 sees 3509 on the down Glen Innes Mail near Wallen. Once at the head of express passenger trains, 3532 was relegated to shunting Newcastle Yard in March 1968. The only surviving class member, 3526, is now preserved in working order at the Rail Heritage Centre, Thirlmere. The C36-460s, introduced in 1925, were destined to replace the 35s on long-distance express passenger workings. Similar in appearance to the 35 class, the C36s became one of Australia's finest loco types. .3617 is seen on the Glen Innes Mail near Woolbrook in February 1967. .3670 and .3624 tackle Raglan Bank with an up-heavy goods, requiring standard goods 5369 as banker in June 1965. Making heavy work of Tamala Bank, 3613 and 3635 with a down mixed, May 1965. Motorcading where roads permitted allowed the photographer a different and dramatic perspective of locomotives in action. With more than enough power to spare, 3668 trundles an uplight goods train near Wongarbin in December 1966. .3617 with a military special blows off as if in defiance as she overtakes two 44 class diesels at Thornton in March 1966. .3665 hauls the down mail near Dubbo East. The New South Wales Rail Transport Museum organised a passenger special to Wollongara during Easter 1966, with a number of different locos heading the train from locations along the way. These double headers included 3524 with 3617, 3233 with 3390, and 5907 with 3617. The 35 and 36 were relieved at Armidale by the 32s. One of the many photo stops, along with the traditional lineup of photographers, was staged at Ben Lomond. The 59 and 36 headed part of the return trip from Armidale. .3642, the last 36 class in regular traffic, remains in working condition and is based at the Rail Heritage Centre, Thirlmere. Regarded by many as one of Australia's ultimate steam designs, the C-38 Pacifics were introduced from 1943, largely replacing the C-36s on the state's top passenger expresses. .3809 brings a local passenger train into Fassifern in December 1967. March 1967 sees 3807 at Newbridge with the Down Central West Express. .3807 returns the same day with the mixed from Orange. An indication the 38s were not designed for heavy freight work, 3807 loses her footing starting from a signal check. March 1966, and 3624 arriving with the goods from the north contributes to a busy scene at Moss Vale. Whilst 3830 makes a steady departure with a northbound goods. After departing Moss Vale, 3806 and 3823 cross Wingecarribee Viaduct en route to Sydney. .3830 approaches Menangle with a northbound pickup goods in October 1966. 3807 speeds the up morning flyer down Fassifern Bank. 3828 with the up evening flyer catches the sun at Tuggerah. 3665 and 3827 make a smoky departure out of Dubbo with the up Coonamble Mail. The photographer just avoiding the water spray down from the 38's fireman. The elegant lines of 3803 look rather out of place with this down goods. .3825 at a steady pace on the long drag out of Mossvale with a southbound mixed. .3825 again with the up Central West Express near Orange. Notice the number placed to one side of the draw hook. This lopsided number positioning began in the mid-1960s when loco overhauls were transferred from Chullora to Cardiff Works. At North Wyong, low light picks out the detail of an unidentified 38 class at the head of the Newcastle flyer. .3809 makes a steady departure from Newcastle with the flyer. .3803 breaches Hawk Mount with the up flyer. .1970 saw 3801 and 3813 head the now famous Western Endeavour trip across the continent. The pair make a spectacular departure from Orange on the 12th of September. .3801 and 3830 have been preserved in working order. 3801 seen in fine form during the Maitland Steamfest of April 2007. 3830 was also a major draw card at the Steamfest. .3801 and 3830 make a guest appearance at Thirlmere in March 2007. Wet conditions during the Rail Transport Museum celebrations failed to dampen the double-headed action. The D59-282s were delivered new in 1952 and 1953 from the United States to meet expanding freight haulage needs. Standing out from other types as austere and very American in appearance, the 59s were occasionally employed on passenger duties. With safety valves blowing, 5906 hauls a down goods near Currabubula in May 1965. After failing on a goods train, 5917 is towed into Werris Creek by 5158 in June 1968. One of the final duties for the 59s was banking work. The last 59 in regular traffic, 5910, is preserved at the Rail Heritage Centre, Thirlmere. .5917, also one of the last in regular traffic, is preserved in operational condition and based at the Lachlan Valley Railway, Cowra. 5917 in good form on the climb from Unanderra to Mossvale on a special working in November 2008. The first of the celebrated AD60 484 plus 484 Bayer Garretts was placed in service in 1952. Members of this class survived to the very end of New South Wales steam in 1973. Ideally suited to heavy freight workings and often double-headed, they became a major attraction for photographers. Double-headed 60s emerged dramatically from the Newstand Colliery branch onto the main line at Fassifern in December 1967. .6022 and .6027 race a down goods through Fassifern in November 1967. The following scenes are in the same period. With steam in decline, the photographer of the 1960s was nonetheless spoilt for choice with over a dozen locomotive types still in service. A veritable feast of steam. The demise of steam in the early 1970s saw the railway photographer's attention drawn to industrial systems, still using steam motive power. A favourite amongst these was the extensive system of the South Maitland Railways in the Hunter Valley. Steam here took the form of the 10 Class 282 tanks, introduced from 1912 and built specifically for coal haulage. A surge in coal production in the late 1970s necessitated much double heading, creating a boom for steam-starved enthusiasts. SMR steam operations survived until 1983. J&A Brown steam operations ceased in 1987, the very last commercial steam-worked railway in Australia. All 14 of the 10 class escaped the cutter's torch, with several having been restored to operational condition. In the 1990s, number 18 had its buffers removed and bunker enlarged in order to work the Cockatoo Run tourist train between Port Kembla and Moss Vale. The train is seen leaving Robertson on the return trip in November 1996. Number 30 can be seen working tourist trains at the Richmond Vale Railway Museum based at Kurri Kurri. The museum has restored the original railway link between the former Richmond Main and Pelham Main collieries. Demonstration coal trains are also a feature of the museum. Another commercial concern to retain steam well past its 1973 mainline demise was Commonwealth Portland Cement. 1892 built Z26 262 saddle tank 2605 was purchased from the State Railways in 1966. By the early 1960s, the remaining Z26s were employed on shunting duties and banking work at Lithgow and Bathurst. The last in government service, 2604, was withdrawn at Bathurst as late as 1970. A 1911 vintage Barclay 060 tank was also employed by the company. Both locos are seen at work during December 1967. They were replaced by diesels in 1982. .2605 is preserved on static display at the Lithgow State Mine Museum.